Now we are done. Now we can finally watch some our F1 driver ratings of the 2020 Japanese Grand Prix from P1. And let's see. I don't know what I will be doing in Minecraft. At least for now. Let's see, I have collected iron, I have buckets. So probably will finish the mining up, maybe. So let's start the video.
Our Japanese Grand Prix F1 driver ratings. Right, let's get into the F1 driver ratings for the Japanese Grand Prix and begin with Kevin Magnussen.
Oh my god, Kevin Magnussen. Did he do anything? Yeah, he held up a lot of people. Then he got people past him, so I don't know. I think his race was 4 or 5. Not interesting
Qualified 18th,
at all.
started 18th, finished 13th. It's going to be a whopping 5 out of 10. Gained a few positions at the beginning. I just feel as though it was a race that was very much more K-Mag than perhaps we've seen this year. Slower than Hulkenberg. If you also consider, and I will obviously bring this up in for Hulkenberg as well, that Hulk literally went into anti-stall and dropped down to P17 at one point. So he was ahead of his teammate and still didn't manage to beat him, and actually got comprehensively beaten.
I've gone for a 5 out of 10 for Kevin Magnussen as well. 13th place last year, you know, that's a 10 out of 10 for a Haas, but they're doing a lot better this year. And yeah, like you said about much more of a Kevin Magnussen performance, we kind of saw the trend that we saw last year where Magnussen, you know, down in 18th in qualifying, whereas Hulkenberg a brilliant 12th. So 13th is actually like a decent enough result, but I think could have been more for him.
Okay, the fans gave K-Mag a 5 out of 10 as well. Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah, he had a good start, I think. But then on the restart, it worked somewhat worse. So then I think his race was a lot of nothing, so maybe 5 also.
Qualified 12th, started 12th, finished 11th.
Oh shit, 11. Oh my god, then Kevin really washed. So 11, okay, so that's maybe 7.
On for a 7 out of 10 for Nico Hulkenberg. Good qualifying, 11th is a respectable finish. Said it so many times, say it every single podcast about it's very difficult to get into that top 10. Very good start to the season for Haas, and it's a shame that there's not more points on offer because Haas are delivering some good results.
They certainly are. I've also gone for a 7 out of 10 for Nico Hulkenberg. Of course, he did go into anti-stall, which he found confusing. So I'm going to give Nico Hulkenberg the benefit of the doubt that he didn't just slip the clutch a little bit too much and it turned on certain things within the car. I think that it was a great result for Haas. Obviously, nothing coming from it because they have scored points. They're not jostling around on 0 points trying to get the best finish that isn't in the points, even though that's what we expected from them this year. So 11th is, as you say, a great performance, not too far away from Yuki Tsunoda. I would say a solidly decent run from Nico Hulkenberg. So yeah, 7 out of 10, very worthy. And the fans give him a 6. Zhou Guanyu, qualified 20th, started 20th, did not finish. I'm going to go for a 3 out of 10 for Zhou.
Oh, yeah. not a good
this
point for
time,
him.
I know there are some Zhou fanboys out there that want to let us know about everything that went on. Some claiming that Zhou did absolutely no running in FP3 and that's why he should be let off in qualifying when in fact he did 16 laps in FP3, and it's quite wild to see some of the claims that people make, but it was a poor weekend for Zhou. Again, the team still displaying how not to do a pit stop at all times. I've never seen
I mean, the pit stops is better now. Now it's just slow, but they can make them.
team struggle this much with pit stops, and that's coming from a Ferrari fan.
Yeah.
But for Zhou, qualifying last, showing no real pace, and then having to retire the car, I can't give him any higher than a 3.
No, I've gone for a 3 out of 10 for Zhou Guanyu as well. It was a disappointing weekend. Obviously, the retirement's not his fault, but he didn't seem to have any pace. Really on a bad run of form at the moment, which hopefully he turns around because it's his home race next.
The fans gave Zhou a 3. Nearly forgot to say that. So we're all agreed. Valtteri Bottas now, qualified 13th.
Let's see, if Kevin Magnussen wasn't in the way, maybe some fun time would have happened. But Kevin Magnussen ruined a lot of his race, I think. Maybe 4.
Started 13th, finished 14th.
I've gone for a 7 out of 10 for Bottas. I think it was a good weekend from him again. Qualified a respectable 13th when his teammates down in last, and he was running, challenging for points in that amazing battle. But unfortunately for Bottas, it was a pit stop battle, so he was always going to lose it. And despite Stake probably doing the best pit stop they've done all year, it managed to lose him about 4 positions.
You just imagine them all just high-fiving like, yes, God, we got the car out! And then...
Yeah, probably. They're so happy they actually succeeded with something and then nothing.
Looking up and just realising they've still lost all those positions. For Valtteri Bottas, I have gone for a 7 out of 10 as well, actually. We're chefing with agreement right now, Tommy, which is not what people want to hear. But I feel genuinely sorry for Bottas. I think he should have been Yuki Tsunoda this weekend. I think he was showing great pace. 13th was a great result, as you say, in qualifying. And it was just the team that let him down. Slow pit stops, getting stuck in traffic with that multi-car pit stop. That was the crucial point. Whoever came out on top of that 5-car pit stop battle obviously had the best chance of scoring that point that Lance Stroll was apparently wanting to give away to one of the slower teams.
True.
So well done, Bottas, 7 out of 10. And the fans gave him a 6. Yuki Tsunoda now qualified.
8.
Jag visste att min farfars farfar Sven föddes i Örebro. Genom Ancestry fick jag reda på att han var bonde.
Oh, we can skip it.
10th, started 10th, finished 10th. And he is getting a 10.
Oh shit, a
out of
10.
Congratulations, Yuki Tsunoda. What more can he do? Makes Q3. Gets a little bit shafted, has to be said. But then VCarb gave it right back to him and said, here's an amazing pit stop. And that allowed him to, I think, take P11 at the time. And then Hulkenberg was still out on track and eventually took P10. And then to hold off Lance Stroll, one of the greatest drivers we've ever seen in our generation. Is
True.
Quite frankly, 10 out of 10 is not even enough to really sort of reflect what you can
I
say.
mean, having Lewis Hamilton behind
I am going to give him a perfect
nothing
score because
compared to
he
Lance
won
Stroll.
Formula B. And if that is Max Verstappen, he's also getting a 10. So well done, Yuki.
He's getting a 9 out of 10 for me. Don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant drive. 10 is a P7 beating Fernando Alonso, which is exactly what he did in the last race. This was like...
Didn't we have 2 retirements that maybe thrust him up?
I was saying he beat Alonso, though. That's what I'm saying, like, on the
True.
track. Whereas...
All right. And, still beating Aston Martin. I mean, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso,
Yeah,
comparable.
Oh, yes, definitely.
The fans gave him a 10.
Wow, I'm a hater, aren't I?
You are a Yuki hater. Unbelievable. Daniel Ricciardo, qualified 11th, started 11th, finished in the wall.
Ouch. Gone for
That's
a 3
a
out of 10
10.
for Daniel Ricciardo. He actually qualified pretty well. I know a lot of people beating him up after Saturday because he finished behind Tsunoda again. He's got knocked out. He just needed a solid race and not to make not the worst error in the world, but still one that is his fault. It's not penalty and grid drop worthy like we said in the race review, but it's still a misjudgment from him at the start of the race when all cars are very close, and it's just putting even more pressure on him through a bad spell.
It certainly is. I've also gone for a 3 out of 10 for Daniel Ricciardo. It's
Oh shit,
sad.
3. Man, did they pick 3 just because that's his number? That's mean. I would say... Ah, 3 is maybe the nicest. I would say maybe 4, but that may be too high. So yeah,
It's
sure,
sad to
3.
see just a misjudgment. It is definitely more him to blame for it. Without his movement, they're not crashing. He just needed a nice solid race, and that did not happen. So it's unfortunate for him. And the fans gave Daniel Ricciardo a 3 as well. Logan Sargent, qualified 19th.
Thought they said Liam Lawson, but wait, it's not in the race.
Start.
See, Logan Sargent, he started low, I believe. It must been. Let's see. I can maybe have points. But yeah. Maybe 2.
Did 19th.
Like his number.
Finished 17th. Gone for a 3 out of 10 for Logan Sargent. Might feel slightly harsh, but at the end of the day, this man has crashed in free practice, obliterated his car so that he couldn't run at all in Friday. Not that it really mattered at the end of the day, because FP2 was a washout anyway. So he kind of got away with it in some ways through that. But then showing glimpses of hope, then making a fatal error that going off at Degner 2, that has to have a big effect on one's grade, because he was running in an all right position, wasn't going to score points, but still it was Logan's not taken any headlines, he's just gone round the track for 50 odd laps and finished the race. But then he ended up in the gravel and finished last of the runners, so it's a 3.
I've gone for a 2 out of 10 for Logan Sargent. Yeah, his drive in the race itself, he was doing all right at stages. It looked like at the start and the restarts that he was staying out of trouble. I don't know if it generally was a bad start or if he was doing something that I think maybe a few of us have done before on open lobby Formula 1 games, where you just roll into turn 1 quite slowly and let the pack do their thing and just think, I do not want to make a mess here. But then another mistake in the race. How many mistakes is he going to have? And yeah, not good.
Fans gave Logan a 4 out of 10, so feeling a lot more generous. Alex Albon, qualified 14th, started 14th, did not finish.
Gone for a 5 out of 10 for Alex Albon. Difficult one to grade.
Tell me about turn 1. How did you assess his turn 1?
I assessed
a
it.
Beautiful 5.
It's very difficult. I do think Albon, though, and the reason, he's qualified all right, but I do think while it was Daniel Ricciardo's fault, it was maybe slightly brave of him, knowing Williams' situations, to stick his nose in there, that when it could have happened. It wasn't his fault, but it's still a bold thing to do when Williams don't have the best of times with car parts and chassis and things at the moment, and they are going through their budget cap very quickly this year.
True.
Yes, not that they will struggle with money due to their Doralton capital things.
I mean, that's
Williams
nice.
aren't struggling financially, but more on the cost cap budget side, and also as James Fowles mentioned around their whole process is being quite archaic and them not being able to actually have all of these spare parts. The fans gave Alex a 5. Esteban Ocon qualified.
Oh shit, yeah, 5. Yeah. Let's see. Would I have chosen 5? I mean, he did a good qualifying. Or maybe, did he? No. He did half good qualifying. Yeah, 5 is maybe too high, maybe 4.
15th, started 15th, finished 15th. And it is a 5 out of 10. My goodness gracious me, Alpine. I mean, they've got a slow enough car as it is, and they thought, no, let's make contact at the start between the two Alpines. That's the way.
But that's thanks for Con. I mean, he's drive against his teammates. No. What should he else do?
To make things even better. I think Ocon picked up a bit of damage, and Gasly did as well, picking up a bit of floor damage from that bump from Esteban. And they were just... it's not any lower than a 5, because I've begun to really soak in the fact that they are genuinely one of the worst teams on the grid. And it doesn't look like it's going to change. It's got worse. They brought upgrades and they've got worse. What more is there to say? Just fully depressing, really, for Alpine.
It is very depressing. I've gone for a 6 out of 10 for Esteban Ocon. Again, I feel like he's he's doing a better job than Gasly this year, and did so again in qualifying. Ocon was doing some nice moves during the race. I think he did like 13 overtakes or something, which is quite impressive.
13 overtakes and finished 15th. That is ridiculous.
Which just shows
he started where he finished, and he overtook 13 times.
I mean, that's really good drive.
Whilst other cars were like DNFing, it just shows that, it's not good for
Started
Alpine.
50, overtakes 13 times, still 15.
Let's now say that the fans gave Ocon a 5 as well. Pierre Gasly qualified 17th, started 17th, finished 16th.
This is a 5 out of 10 for Gasly. The worst of the Alpines. Not much to say. Pretty quiet race. He looked like the slowest driver on earth, but we know that it was a bit of damage as well as a terrible Alpine. But boy, did it look like it wasn't moving sometimes. I think you meant...
Yes, I'm going to give a 5 for Pierre as well. I know he finished 13 seconds behind his teammate, but you could visibly see that car was an absolute tractor with that damage on. So I'm not going to take any points away from Pierre due to that. And the fans gave him a...
So let's see, 5. Yeah, maybe. Oh shit. There was no water. Yeah, maybe 5
as well. All right, everybody, put your seatbelts on. It's Slander Tommy time. Lance Stroll qualified 16th, started 16th, finished 12th. Lance Stroll, 2 out of 10. That was one of the worst drives I have seen Lance do. He finished a whopping 1 minute, pretty much, behind his teammate. What? 60 Great British seconds. And for those people that have... Because I put a tweet out about how has Lance not only not caught Tsunoda on softs, but lost a position to Hulkenberg. And people are coming to his defence. Well, the Aston's actually pretty terrible on its tyres. Did anyone see Fernando Alonso's stint at the start on the soft tyres on heavy fuel?
I mean, maybe Stroll shouldn't be in Formula 1.
Full fuel? Lance Stroll whacked him on with, 18 or so laps to go. On softs. the fuel much lower, and Bro could not beat Yuki Tsunoda for the final point. That is absolutely unforgivable.
Yeah, I gone for 2 out of 10 for Stroll as well.
2.
His qualifying...
1.
Vi är alla på väg någonstans. Karin är på väg att öppna butiken för dagen. Men först... Sådär ja. Och är du medlem hos Preem bjuder vi på nybakat fikabröd när du köper en kaffe.
Kom lite närmare semesterupplevelser utöver det vanliga. Bo på Apollo Mondo i sommar. Koncepthotell för er som vill få ut ännu mer av stunderna tillsammans. Boka på apollo.se.
Again, terrible. Fernando Alonso is P5. One thing we complain about in Formula One at the moment, and a driver can make that extra bit of difference, but we know how important a car is in Formula One, and a lot of the time in Formula One, and we did in this race, you saw Red Bull, Ferrari, and it can be a lot of the time 2 by 2, or at least they're very close. No other teammate pairing has such a chasm between them. Fernando Alonso, he is 42 years old now. He's beatable. Lance has been in Formula 1 for a very long time. The gap should not be that big. He didn't even beat Formula B. It's just shocking. It is actually, like, it's embarrassing.
Oh God, I love it when you pop off. Honestly, it gets me.
Pop off. That was nothing. I mean, come on. You could have said a lot of more stuff. But sure.
Going. The fans gave Lance Stroll a 3. Fernando Alonso. Here we go. Qualified 5th, started 5th, finished 6th. Go on, Tommy. Off you go. Come on.
It's a 15 out of 10 for Fernando. No, it's a 9 out of 10 for Fernando. I think it's a very good drive. I don't think the Aston Martin should be qualifying 5th. It almost is like normal for him to be 5th in an Aston Martin where his teammate is racing Formula B. So yeah, it's a great performance. And then just, you know, little things again, like the way he was backing off to give Piastri the DRS like Sainz did in Singapore. Just very smart driving. Yeah, just brilliant.
Big brain strats from Fernando.
Oh shit, Alonso.
Though it's a 9 out of 10 from me as well.
9.
Just amazing to watch.
Yeah, I would say Alonso did. Let's see if we can. Where did he start? See, 2024. See, can we see starting grid? So he started 5th, and the up being 6th. Yeah, you could say it's a really good drive. So yeah, 9.
He's always just there, even if that Aston Martin is pretty terrible. Just throughout his career, he's always been able.
I mean, I think Lance Stroll is worse than the Aston Martin car is.
He almost drives better when his car is rubbish. I feel like it just unleashes the.
And in Lewis Hamilton's case, he feels like he drive. He can only drive good when the car is good.
Dog in Fernando, if I'm being completely honest with you. And the fans gave Fernando an 8. Oscar Piastri qualified 6th, started 6th, finished 8th.
Oscar Piastri, can he get? I mean, that he didn't keep Russell behind can maybe be somewhat bad. So maybe a 7 or something.
7 out of 10 for Oscar Piastri. It was by no means as bad as the last time we went to Suzuka in comparison to his teammate, but still lacking, I would say, in the race and in qualifying actually this time around. I still think it's a 7 out of 10 worthy performance. Still decent. He's still there scoring points and mixing it with the other drivers for P6 at the end. But yeah, there's something about Japan that just doesn't click, I think, with Oscar at the moment. So It's a 7.
Yeah, I've gone for a 7 out of 10 as well. I think he's had a very good start to the season and been a little. I think he's taken a step forward. Maybe it is those circuits where there's a bit more tyre wear. He's still getting used to that in Formula 1. He's not been anywhere near really Lando this weekend, when in the other races this year he has been a lot closer and beaten him sometimes as well.
And the fans gave Oscar a 7. Lando Norris qualified 3rd, started 3rd, finished 5th.
Gone for an 8 out of 10 for Lando Norris. It's a difficult one to grade because I think his qualifying was sensational, but in the race,
Yeah, I would
I
say
don't think it was helped by a bad McLaren strategy, and Ferrari seemed to be better on their tyres, which is a mad thing to say this year, but it is true.
Here we go.
5th is almost a disappointing result, but it's just a very good drive.
We're on the agreement express because I've also gone for an 8 out of 10 for Lando Norris. I think that McLaren let him down slightly. I'm really unsure as to how Charles Leclerc's beaten him. I know that Ferrari is definitely a bit quicker, but I just feel as though P4 was surely on the cards for Lando. The fact that Leclerc
They pitted at the same time, didn't they?
Yeah, the same time as Lando is wild to me, considering they were on completely different strategies. 8 out of 10, and the fans gave him an 8 as well. Carlos Sainz qualified 4th, started 4th, finished 3rd. It's a 9 out of 10 from me for Carlos Sainz. I think he was very impressive once again. Delivered in qualifying.
Yeah, men impressive. Sure. So yeah, 9.
Outqualified Charles Leclerc, which is no mean feat. But Carlos is showing that the pace is there, and it helps so much more, especially now with the Ferrari having that drivability, having the ability to go further on the tyres. It puts Carlos in a great position that he can qualify 4th and be right up there. So he is a man unleashed since Ferrari let him go.
Yeah, I've gone for a 9 out of 10 for Carlos as well. Continued that amazing form. He is driving so well. His overtakes were very impressive, very clean. Like he was racing on a track like Suzuka. It's not an easy place to pass, even though we did see quite a few overtakes. But yeah, he just did.
Not easy to pass, and then every person in the race could pass.
A brilliant job.
The fans gave Carlos
Ocon
a 9.
did 15
Charles Leclerc
passes,
qualified 8th, started 8th, finished 4th.
I've gone for an
8.
8 out of 10. His race was very good.
Could maybe
His
be 7
strategy
because he's
was a good
qualifying
one,
so bad.
But I don't think it was an easy one for him to execute. And I think while it's Ferrari that did the strategy, I think you have to give some credit to Charles Leclerc for being able to do the job. But I can't give him a 9 because he qualified down in 8th. I know it's a small gap to his teammate, but it put him on the back foot for him to need to do that in the first place. And it's
his qualifying need to get better.
Sainz, but still a solid result.
Yeah, I've gone for an 8 out of 10 for Charles. Well, it was a brilliantly executed race. It was all lost in qualifying. 1/10 of a second, that's all it was. But that is what we've said many, many times through this period of Formula 1, how close it can be in qualifying, and being on the wrong end of that can completely scupper your race. And that's not something that Charles ever really had to deal with before. It's always been, he's been on the front row. Can he do anything about it? Starting 8th around a track like Suzuka is a really difficult race ahead of him. Yeah, I think he deserves his plaudits. It can't be any higher than an 8 because he finished behind his teammate, and that was due to qualifying, I would say. And the fans gave Charles Leclerc an 8. George Russell qualified 9th, started 9th, finished 7th. It's a 7 out of 10 for me for George Russell.
7.
Showed some good pace.
Sure.
Hamilton even volunteered to let his teammate through, which I don't think I've ever heard in the history of Lewis Hamilton's career.
No, he maybe knows. He's the second driver now in the Mercedes. So that's why. Let the number 1 driver pass.
Actually coming over the radio to suggest they swap. Yeah, George, I think, had a great race. I like the overtake aggression on Piastri. I think it was a good drive from George once again, showing that he's not got a great car, but when you compare him to Lewis Hamilton, if he's anywhere near him, he's having a good season.
I've gone for a 7 out of 10 for George Russell as well. After qualifying, I was surprised that he was on the back of Hamilton,
God
and
damn it.
it looked like Hamilton would have the better of him this weekend because Hamilton was so much quicker
I
in qualifying.
Did never believe that. Lewis Hamilton is so bad, so Russell don't need to be worried.
And then normally Hamilton's the one that's better in the race, but George did a fantastic job.
Fans gave George a 7 out of 10. Lewis Hamilton qualified 7th, started 7th, finished 9th.
Gone for a 6 out of 10 for Lewis Hamilton. Wow, is he having a bad start to the season? I cannot believe I heard a radio message of him going, "Oh, go on, I'll let George through him." And it is bizarre. I don't think for a second that he's giving up. I know people will push that narrative that, oh, he's just ready to join Ferrari and stuff. That's not who he is. He wants to win, and he'll want to get a victory at Mercedes before he goes. But I don't think he will, because boy, is that car shockingly bad.
I'll go for a 6 out of 10 for Lewis Hamilton this time. Yeah, I think we've kind of explained it all. He didn't have great pace at the start, but I think showed some good speed at the end. Of course, Russell kind of got stuck.
Yeah, it could be because it got colder. It started sunny, and then it was not sunny in the end. That was the only reason he got faster. The car actually got more alive. But that's because I'm
I would say behind Alonso and Piastri, so maybe that's where a bit more of that gap came down towards the end. But yeah, just not the races I expect to see from Lewis Hamilton. But he is only human. Let's not forget that as well. I don't think for a second he's giving up, but I'm sure he's
giving up. No, but he can't fight for it either.
Wondering what that 2025 Ferrari car is going to be like and how nice it's going to be to drive, especially in qualifying. The fans gave Lewis Hamilton a 6. Sergio Perez qualified 2nd, started 2nd, finished 2nd.
10.
It is a 9 out of 10. Great performance this weekend.
It's a 10. He did almost a good qualifying also.
What the doctor ordered. Qualified on the front row, so close to getting pole position. Not on Max's level, copy and paste. Not on Max's level, but doing the job that Red Bull team want from him. And I'm really happy. I'm really happy to see that from him.
Yeah, I've gone for a 9 out of 10 as well. Brilliant qualifying.
9 is
very
10.
close to getting pole, like you say. And in the
can he do even better? He's driving against Max Verstappen. Either he wins or Max wins. You can't be both. Come on.
The race, yeah, he was away off Max and had to come through the field, but his passes were great to watch. And yeah, another brilliant result from him at the start of the season. It's now going to be fascinating to see if he carries that form on, because of course this is exactly what I did last year. He just needs to avoid that mid-season slump like he had
he
last
needs
year.
to
And
avoid just
if he's
Verstappen.
doing what he's doing, like we've said
At
many
least in
times,
Monaco.
absolutely no chance he's going to lose that Red Bull seat if he keeps delivering second place every race.
The fans gave Perez a 9. And finally, Max Verstappen qualified 1st, started 1st, finished 1st.
It's a 10 out of 10. The
No.
Max Verstappen revenge
That's
tour
bad.
happened.
Begins now.
Yeah, just brilliant. It's just really good. I've not actually said this for
Everybody's
a while.
got their bingo card out.
No, to be
What
fair,
more is there to say, really?
to be fair, that was like halfway through last year, and I've actually had a lot to say recently, but this one is just Max being Max. It just makes it look effortless. Yeah, what more to say?
There you go.
Ding,
There it
ding.
is. Tick it off. What more is there to say? Max Verstappen, it's a 10 out of 10 for me as well. Well done, sir. You did everything you
It's
needed
a
to do.
0.
Congratulations. Great drive. Hardly saw you the whole race. Great. Both starts were brilliant. And then he drove away and had a great time. So congratulations, Max. And that is that. The fans also gave Max a 10 as well. No surprise. Who is our P1? Well, for you, it has to be Max Verstappen, but for me, I'll give it to Yuki Tsunoda because I'm a big fan. Big fan of Yuki Tsunoda. The only one, apparently, on this podcast. But yeah, so that's mine. And yours, Tommy?
Of course, it's Max. And I will clarify that Max was given an NA based on the vote last week, although we were so...
That's mean. Giving an That's bad.
Like, should he get an NA or a 10? And because he's got 10 every week, it actually makes no difference.
Lovely stuff. Well done, Max. And that is it. Have an amazing rest of your week. No Formula One this weekend, but we go to China next week, and that will be fun.
More Formula
we are
1.
live on Twitch for the sprint at 3:30
Oh,
in the
fuck
morning.
me, sprint.
That is going to be absolutely incredible. See
God,
you
it
soon.
better be good.
It will not.
Otherwise, you're having another sprint rant.
Oh, I certainly am. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, and bye from Frank. That was cute.
No, fuck that dog. Go away, I don't wanna see anything more of that. And then we have something from the race. Why Ferrari is now the Red Bull's biggest F1 threat, and I thought Ferrari have been the threat since 2022. But the race have maybe new information on why this year they are.
Second has always been seen as a failure for a team of Ferrari's size and ambition. So being best of the rest behind Red Bull so far in 2024 is no cause for celebration. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was Maranello. This is a team that, for all its illustrious history and resources, matched its record title drought by racking up a 15th season without a World Championship in 2023. That matched the dry spell between its 1983 and 1999 Constructors' titles, and it's almost certain Ferrari will make it 16 years this season. That's significant because it proves Ferrari isn't a team in need of quick fixes and easy answers. Instead, it requires sustained, consistent improvement if it's to emerge as a Red Bull beater. So Ferrari isn't the biggest threat to Red Bull's supremacy simply because it's second best this year, but as a result of how it's emerged as its closest challenger, even if it's not close enough right now.
Okay, so wait, you don't believe in Mercedes?
Oh.
That's mean.
That the Ferrari SF24 has comprehensively led the way at the head of the chasing pack behind Red Bull is significant, given the 4 circuits visited so far each have different car demands thanks to varying track configurations and surfaces. In terms of single lap pace, the Ferrari is on average the second fastest car. In Bahrain, Charles Leclerc actually set the quickest individual lap of the weekend in Q2, but couldn't repeat that to take pole position. But in 3 of the 4 races so far, Ferrari has been the leading non-Red Bull in qualifying. And while McLaren driver Lando Norris got ahead of the Ferraris in qualifying at Suzuka, Carlos Sainz and Leclerc finished ahead of him in the race. That maintained Ferrari's 100% record of being the best placed non-Red Bull in races this year. Crucially, this was at a track where it was emphatically beaten by McLaren just 6 months ago. Carlos Sainz also won the Australian Grand Prix after the early retirement of Max Verstappen, who he overtook when the Red Bull driver was battling a terminal brake problem on the second lap of the race. But Ferrari fancied its chances of challenging Verstappen in a straight fight. That's added up to Ferrari being comfortably second in the Constructors' Championship with 120 points. That's Ferrari's second highest tally at this stage in the season of the past decade, just 4 points behind where it was at this stage of 2022, at a point where it was posing a genuine championship threat to Red Bull, albeit only temporarily. The results prove it. Ferrari is on the up, and that's thanks to improvements in multiple areas.
Yeah. True.
You come from a world of rules, of laws. This place is indifferent to all of that. You need to go home.
Yeah,
The key objective for
Fallout.
Ferrari was eliminating the tendency of its cars since the start of 2022 to work
Oh,
its
Red Bull. Was that an ad about Red Bull? The fallout of the Red Bull?
tires too hard in the race.
Probably.
That led to a big offset between its strong qualifying performance and its weaker race pace. That Ferrari has racked up 19 pole positions in the previous 2 seasons, yet won only 5 races, is telling. Too often in races it was fighting a rearguard action thanks to what Carlos Sainz called terrible tyre management, a weakness that's been tackled this year. Now, Red Bull still has a bigger advantage on race pace than qualifying pace, but that step is there relative to every team. And Ferrari would often fall behind other rivals in the chasing pack in 2022 and 23 thanks to its struggles with race pace. Ferrari still isn't at Red Bull level in terms of tyre management. As Leclerc has pointed out, at high degradation tracks, life is still a bit tricky for Ferrari. But this is a big step forward. It means Ferrari is able to attack more in races rather than looking backwards. And improved race pace means growth.
And Lewis Hamilton will... Oh, he will hoping that he will have a good car next season. Or can it really be worse than what Mercedes is now?
Strategic flexibility.
Probably not.
That was showcased at Suzuka, where Leclerc pulled off a one-stop strategy that required a 25-lap stint on mediums, the furthest any driver went on the C2 tyre. To team principal Fred Vasseur, this was confirmation that Ferrari has got on top of its tyre troubles. Further improvement is needed, but the season so far is conclusive evidence Ferrari has made a big step in getting on top of its tyre trouble. One of the main reasons Ferrari has made the aforementioned gains on tyre management is that the peakiness of the aerodynamics of the car has been improved dramatically. If you have a car that's prone to stalling aerodynamically, then you will in those moments take more out of the tyres, sapping the confidence from the drivers and making the car particularly unstable when in turbulent air behind other cars. This was all down to the sensitivity of the car aerodynamically when in yaw, i.e. while turning through corners. In a narrow window, when all was right, it worked well, but the drivers never really knew when the rear end might give up. As a result, for much of last season, the car needed a little understeer dialed into it to calm it down, which was particularly troubling for Leclerc. And although progress was made in the second half of last season, this was still a problem. Fundamentally, this came down to the limitations of the outwash concept Ferrari opted for at the start of 2022, as opposed to the downwash focus that has become ubiquitous. Drivers complained endlessly about the unpredictability of the car in 2023, but that's dramatically improved this year. A quick glance at the side pod treatment of the car showcases the change in direction, and while Ferrari is still some way behind in developing this approach, it's on the right track and has been rewarded with greatly improved consistency. Its performance at Suzuka was evidence of that, given the improved performance in the fast corners. As Vasseur says, Ferrari has made a huge step forward in the high speed. The car is not perfect, and Leclerc has pointed out there are still improvements to be made in terms of the predictability. But what matters is what Ferrari, characterised as a brand new car for 2024, has addressed its weaknesses and set it on the right track. Ferrari has long been pilloried for finding ways to shoot itself in the foot and throw away great results. But this has been gradually improving, in particular since Vasseur took over as team principal ahead of 2023. That's manifested in its good strategy calls, for example Leclerc's one-stopper at Suzuka. That was the combination of pre-planning the right strategic options and good communication from the driver, who pushed to extend the first stint despite being on the medium tyres. That's an example of what Sainz said about the car improvements giving greater strategic flexibility. What's more, it's been a while since we've seen Ferrari do something completely baffling, such as sending its drivers out on the wrong tyre in qualifying, as happened at Interlagos in 2022 when...
Yeah, they did try to be too safe. And now be bad decision. And also it's easier to make good decision if your car is good, because then you don't have to think. I mean, you can say, do they do bad decision now with Leclerc? Maybe, but that's mostly because he don't make the good qualifying. So they are, should we go out again or not?
And Leclerc was put on intermediates for Q3 when dries were the right choice. The execution of the pit stops is also consistently good. Thanks to the DHL Fastest Pit Stop Award, the turnaround times are logged and Ferrari has 4 of the 10 quickest pit stops of 2024. While Red Bull still dominates, Ferrari is firmly second best. It's still lagging behind, but this is further evidence of the long-term progress.
So for some reason, let's see, where is... Yeah, Mercedes is... I don't know where they are, but they don't.
While Red Bull still dominates, Ferrari is firmly second best. It's still lagging behind, but this is further evidence of the long-term progress in this area. Back in 2020, Ferrari was ranked 8th for pit stops, but things have steadily improved. This operational improvement extends far beyond race strategy and pit stops. On Vasseur's watch, the decision-making and clarity of leadership at Ferrari has taken a step forward. He's been able to keep the politics that are always bubbling away at Ferrari at bay and give clear direction, as Leclerc says. This has impacted all areas of the team and crucially allowed greater focus on the key areas for improvement. That means development objectives have been set more precisely. The team has avoided overreacting to both success and failure, and communication and collaboration has improved. And at Ferrari, getting that side of things under control has always been the key to success. Ferrari is now firmly second best in F1, but it still has a long way to go to be a regular threat to Red Bull. Car development will therefore be key. However, there are signs that it can aspire to take on and beat Red Bull in a straight fight. While Sainz's Australia victory came after Verstappen retired early, there was the possibility that the car might have had the pace at least to fight with Red Bull in the race. Unfortunately, there's no way to know if that really would be the case. And while the Red Bull RB20 is still a superior car, Sainz believes that there are certain tracks where Ferrari can be in the mix, citing ultra-low downforce Monza and the Singapore and Miami street tracks. And Sainz is confident that while Red Bull has an advantage for now, Ferrari can become more of a threat as the season progresses. So far, the updates Ferrari has brought have been minor. Winglets were added to the rear wing pylon in Australia, and a reprofiled aerodynamic fairing for the rear suspension top wishbone leg appeared in Japan. There have also been some circuit-specific parts to tune the car for the aero demands of tracks. But the first big upgrade is expected at Imola next month and should include a new floor. Unlike Mercedes, Ferrari hasn't given up hope of emerging as a championship threat this year, at least not publicly. But realistically, this year is all about making faster progress than Red Bull, so it has the possibility of being a genuine challenger for race wins next year, and therefore can fight for the title when Lewis Hamilton arrives to join Leclerc. Vasseur stresses the merits of pushing for constant improvement in all areas, and there is plenty of evidence that this is delivering results. There's still a long way to go before Ferrari can be considered a serious threat to Red Bull, but recent
I mean, they're more seriously a threat than Mercedes will ever be, so
progress proves that the
they have a
trajectory is
future
right to do so. And that's exactly what is needed to make a team that has consistently underachieved in the past 15 years into one that really can re-emerge as a championship winner.
Yeah. Wonder if they will do anything about Mercedes. If Mercedes will be the new threat against Red Bull, or will it just be Ferrari? But that we will see. Maybe 2025 Mercedes will finally be good. But let's see. We have maybe Carlos Sainz future will give what can you call how Mercedes will be 2025. And here we have the F1 world assessing Carlos Sainz F1 2025 options, and it's Mercedes or Audi. So let's see what he thinks. Here we go.
Here and welcome to the F1 word. Now, Carlos Sainz is in great form right now, and it just so happens, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, until Leclerc maybe start doing good qualifying, then Carlos Sainz maybe will look really bad.
That he's out of contract at the end of this season. He is hot property right now and is being linked to a number of teams for 20.
He's so hot property, so Mercedes or Audi have not signed him.
2025, but who are those teams? What are his realistic options? And where do I think he'll end up next year? That's a lot of questions, so let's try and answer them. So first off, which teams is he being most heavily linked to? Well, not as many as you might think. I am absolutely certain any
Talking about Red Bull.
team would quite happily take Sainz on right now if they had a spot available. But the reality is, Sainz won't necessarily accept any team. So, for example, is he really going to head to Haas if there's an offer on the table from...
No. Maybe Williams I would pick. But, yeah, sure. Haas.
Aston Martin? It's unlikely, is my point. But to the actual point...
Oh, yeah. Aston Martin can maybe keep Alonso. We'll see after this clip. He did a clip about Alonso. So Alonso is maybe still in Aston Martin.
Are four realistic contenders right now. Red Bull have a decision to make this year regarding Sergio Perez, and with rumours still doing the rounds that Max Verstappen could leave, although I'm still not...
No, my leggings. I mean, Max going to Mercedes, that's the biggest joke in Formula 1. Then some people, probably Toto Wolff, is really desperate to have some good news for Mercedes. But they will never come.
Convinced that will happen. Certainly not by the end of this year anyway. They may need a solid replacement for him, but I think Perez is the one with the biggest question mark hanging over his head today. And should Red Bull decide to offer Sainz a contract, surely he has got to take it, even if it means he effectively ends up as Verstappen's number 2. It's the best car on the grid, and so wins are likely to be on the table. Plus, if Max did leave in a couple of years' time, even if he sees out his contract, it would put the Spaniard in prime position to take over the lead of that team. The trouble for Sainz is that Perez has actually had a good...
Yeah, maybe. But why not pick Ricciardo? And who knows, Perez maybe will do a greater job.
Start to this season is very much doing what is expected of him as a second driver at Red Bull. He's finishing P2 consistently to Verstappen, and he is second in the standings. That is just what Red Bull need from him. Plus, Christian Horner has already said that if he performs, Checo is the preferred option, or in his words, Perez has the priority for the second seat. And right now, I see no reason why the team would drop him based on performance. The only thing I would say is that Sainz is younger and so could offer a more long-term solution for the team.
And also, they are Liam Lawson. And if they really are desperate, because they show no sign to want to have Yuki Tsunoda, but I mean, why not pick him? So you can... But I feel like they will just promote Liam Lawson if they don't pick Ricciardo.
A moment ago, should Verstappen leave, let's say at the end of 2026, Sainz could, if he continues to keep up his form, lead that team in the future. A lot of ifs, buts and maybes there though. Of the top 4 or 5 teams, Mercedes, many will argue, could well be the most likely to snap him up for next year. They are looking for someone to partner George Russell and may well be on the lookout for some experience to counter some of what they are losing when Lewis Hamilton leaves for Ferrari. The big question mark here, though, is Kimi Antonelli. He has got some test sessions booked in for later this season with the Silver Arrows and is seen as the next big thing by the team and by many around the sport, to be fair. However, he is still very young. He's leapt up to F2 this year and he would be a big risk, no doubt. Risks with their drivers is not something Mercedes are really known for. The team preferring to give Russell, for example, a few years at Williams rather than rush him into the main team. Then again, Mercedes is in a very different position right now. When they had to make the call on Russell, they were champions going for more titles and had a proven driver lineup. They didn't need to make a change, but now they are a long way off a title and their hands have been forced by Lewis Hamilton deciding to leave. It must be said, Toto Wolff has said that, like Red Bull, they are in no rush to make a decision and gave absolutely nothing away, saying the team are in a rebuilding phase, and so that could mean they put a young driver in the car for next year or a more experienced driver. Yes, I know, vague. Sainz, though, would be a great option for the team, and even if they only keep him or even Russell for 2 years, Antonelli would still only be 20 years old at the start of the 2027 season. It's not like they're in a mad rush with him. I suppose one big question, go back to what I said about where Mercedes are right now, would Sainz even want to race there? It would be a big step backwards from Ferrari. Then again, anything other than Red Bull right now is probably considered a step backwards.
But it could be better than Audi.
So that may have to be something he accepts going forward. I do think a move to Mercedes is more likely than Red Bull at the moment, but I'm not convinced it's going to happen.
Bli uppslukad av äventyret.
No.
Våga utmana dig själv med en ny aktivitet nu när våren är här. Ta dig ut, använd naturens...
I may well be alone on this, but I cannot help but feel that whilst I understand Mercedes will want to wait and assess all of their options, if they were that keen on him, they'd have signed him up by now rather than risk losing him to someone else, which is why I think Antonelli on a long-term deal, or Alonso, or maybe even Vettel on a shorter deal whilst they wait for Antonelli, could well be the team's preferred option. Aston Martin has emerged as a potential destination in the last couple of weeks, with conflicting reports saying that they want him to replace Alonso and others saying we might see an all-Spanish lineup at the team. Silly season, I love you. That said, if he goes to Aston, it will be to fill the seat left by Fernando Alonso. That's my feeling anyway, and that's really what this all hinges on. What is Alonso going to do? He could retire, or as I've already gone over, might find himself in...
What will Alonso do? What will Stroll do? How long will he keep being in the team and being bad? That's a bigger question.
Vacant Mercedes seat for a year or two. All of that said, Alonso himself said in Japan when asked about a possible Merc move that Mercedes is behind us today, so it doesn't feel that attractive. That's a quote. It is also worth noting that he said he thinks there is zero chance of Verstappen leaving Red Bull right now, and even said when quizzed about whether Aston's current form was enough to convince him to stick around, that he has a lot of fun, which is great to keep on racing, but added that at Suzuka he had one of his best weekends ever, but still ended up 44 seconds off the lead, which didn't feel attractive to him at the same time. Despite how much he has struggled at times, Lance Stroll is unlikely to go anywhere anytime soon, so it really is down to what Alonso decides realistically. And I don't see Aston dropping him. He is still performing at a very high level, and Mike Crack was clear earlier in the year the priority was to keep the lineup the same for next season. There is a potential twist, though, if recent reports or rumours are to be believed. According to motorsport.com sources, there are factions within Aston Martin that want Sainz to join the team for next season alongside Lance Stroll and lead it into the new regulations for 2026.
Lance Stroll.
And that's rather than keeping Alonso on board. We'll see what happens. I still think, though, when push comes to shove, if Lawrence Stroll and Mike Crack are making the decision, Alonso will stay. But I can definitely see Sainz there if Fernando decides to move on. And it would actually be a solid option for Carlos. It's an ambitious team with potentially a very exciting future, and they are well placed to continue taking steps forward. So Sainz to Aston could actually work out very nicely for everyone involved. And the last realistic destination is Sauber. Look, I don't think the idea of a move to Sauber in anticipation of the Audi takeover is as far-fetched or as crazy as some seem to think it is. In fact, it actually surprises me that some people think the idea is absolutely bonkers. Each to their own, I guess. But of course, just because you're a big manufacturer, it doesn't mean you're going to be successful. Audi might fail miserably. They could be the next big thing, or they might just be okay. So that's absolutely got to be a consideration for Sainz, and Audi would need to do a lot to show him that they are the place to be for the future. But despite the unknowns, it's a brand new project. Yes, they've bought out an existing team, but it is still a new project, and Carlos Sainz could be the figurehead of that, the driver they look to build around over several years. The chance to be the number one and not be, I suppose, in the shadow of a driver considered a hotter prospect or the golden boy of a team. Something which has been the case throughout his career. After all, he's been teammates with Max Verstappen, Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. All of those drivers very much the focal point of their respective teams over the last few years. So being that number one, the focal point, might actually be a very attractive option for Sainz. Something you also might not get at Mercedes, by the way, with Russell their focal point right now and Antonelli possibly in the future. And that's not even taking into consideration the fact he works with Andreas Seidel at McLaren and they have a great relationship. And his dad has massive ties to Audi too, and big success with Audi, of course. The idea of Carlos Sainz Jr. to Audi ticks a lot of boxes and makes a lot of sense to me. The problem is, it would mean having to accept a transitional year at Sauber for 2025, because in case you didn't know, Audi are not officially entering F1 until 2026. And looking at where Sauber are right now, that would likely mean battling for tail end points in a very tight midfield. But is that something Sainz will want to do from next year? You know, go from a chance of consistent podiums and race wins to maybe a point or two some weekends is a massive drop-off. So again, he would need a lot of assurances from Audi about 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's if he want to start fighting for stuff when he joins the team, then Mercedes will be the best one. But the future success can Audi really bring with.
It is also important to note that the latest rumours say Audi gave Sainz an ultimatum that was essentially signed by the end of April or will look elsewhere. So the link is there between the two parties, but that ultimatum is quite obviously just Audi trying to get him to commit early. If he ignores that and waits a few more months, I'm sure the offer would still be there if nobody else takes him or if he chooses not to go anywhere else. Maybe. Another factor in all of this is 2026. We're getting a massive set of regulation changes, so he's got to take that into consideration. Red Bull will be running their own power units with some help from Ford from that season, and that is a massive unknown. Mercedes nailed the last set of major engine regulations.
Yeah, but they have nothing to go on with their... I mean, they have a good engine now. The rest of the car is bad. So, I mean, they can do a good engine again. But the car will be really bad.
Changes, so they've got form there, although they didn't really nail the aero regulations in 2022.
Yeah, true.
But they have proven in the past they can get it right on the power unit side.
Yeah, they've proven in the past that they can succeed. So that's why they will succeed again.
So they could be less of a risk. Aston Martin will be partnering with Honda, so that could be a super attractive option in the long term, especially when you look at the great job they did at Red Bull. And as already mentioned, Audi is a whole new project, and so that engine could go either way, and so would be a risk for Sainz. The overall point I'm making is that with such a big rules change on the horizon, Sainz needs to be thinking about the next few years rather than just what might happen in 2025. So with all of that out of the way, where do I think he'll be racing in 2025 and beyond? Well, to quickly summarise, the too long didn't read if you like. A Red Bull move is very possible. Perez looks the favourite right now. Sainz getting a seat will all come down to whether or not Checo can keep up his current form or if Verstappen does walk away. Mercedes is struggling but has proven in the past it can nail new engine regulations, so they could be a good option long term.
Mercedes long term. Yeah, that's why Lewis Hamilton left the team. The long term will really make Mercedes good again.
Again, that all comes down to what the team wants to do with Antonelli. Aston is another very good option, but question marks remain over whether or not they can deliver on their ambitions and what will happen when Honda comes in super quickly. They may want someone like Tsunoda on board, for example, especially given their ties to him. That's a conversation for another day, though. And switching to Sauber would mean accepting a year in the midfield and taking gamble on Audi getting it right in 2026. As of today, though, my gut, which has been very wrong before, as I'm sure many of you will know, says he will be driving for Sauber next year in preparation for Audi's entry in 2026. There are many reasons I've come to that conclusion, as I've already mentioned, you know, things like the fact he could well be the focal point of the project going forward. It's a brand new thing with lots of potential, and he already has a very good working relationship with Andreas Seidel following their time together at McLaren. It's also well known that Sainz is excellent at technical feedback and is easy to work with, and that's something which could benefit both parties as the team tries to take the steps forward it will need to take. They also, at the moment, seem to be the ones pushing the hardest for him, and that's a point or question, I suppose. Does Audi become more attractive to Sainz given that they are pushing so hard for him to sign? What I mean by that is they clearly want him, rate him highly, and see him as the one to build around. So could that sway his decision at all? Just something to ponder, I suppose. But yes, one final time, whilst this could all change in the coming days and weeks, as of right now, I think Sainz's most likely destination is Sauber and Audi. Although I will say, as much as I do love Sergio Perez, or like Sergio Perez, love is a bit far, but you know what I mean. I do quite like the idea of Sainz versus Verstappen at Red Bull. That could be a very tasty partnership for the future. Those are just a few of my thoughts, though, so let me know down in the comment section which team you think Carlos Sainz will be racing for next season. Have you got a team as a wild card? That is it for this one then, but I will be back soon with another video. In the meantime, though, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like, as it really does help the channel out, and consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future content. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.
Oh shit, go away. Let's see. Yeah, there was science, fun stuff, but Alonso has something interesting to maybe say.
Crunchy, creamy, crunchy.
Wow.
Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the
So, Fernando Alonso confirmed that Aston Martin for 2025.
F1 Word, and to a super quick breaking news reaction style video thing. Catchy intro. In case you're wondering, I'm recording this just about an hour after I put a video out about Carlos Sainz's 2025 options. Definitely go and watch that if you could, that would be great. However, since that was uploaded, it has been confirmed that Fernando Alonso is staying put at Aston Martin for 2025 and beyond, signing a multi-year deal. The official email, the press release announcing all of this that dropped in my inbox a little while ago, is one of my favourite of all time. It quite simply says, in quotes, "I am here to stay, Fernando Alonso." That is it. So big points there. Kudos to Aston Martin. I really enjoyed that. Of course, there is actually more to it than that, with team boss Mike Crack saying that they have built a strong working relationship over the last 18 months, and the two parties share the same determination to see the project succeed. He goes on to say they've been in constant dialogue over the last few months, and once it had been decided that Fernando was going to stay in F1 and continue racing, the first team he talked to was Aston Martin, which isn't a massive surprise, really. Crack
Wait,
goes on
what? Didn't think he didn't believe in Mercedes? That's weird. So Carlos Sainz maybe can go to Mercedes?
And by saying, and I'll quote him here, "This multi-year agreement with Fernando takes us into 2026 when we begin our Works Power Unit partnership with Honda. We look forward to creating more incredible memories and achieving further success together." So there we go then. Domino number 2, I suppose, has fallen. Hamilton going to Ferrari was announced back in February. Now Fernando is staying at Aston Martin. That obviously rules him out of the Mercedes seat, so that's not going to happen. But as I said in that science video that went out earlier today, I always felt like Fernando Alonso, if he remained in F1, was going to stay at Aston Martin. And if push came to shove, despite all the rumours about factions wanting him out, Lawrence Stroll and Mike Crack would keep him on board. I don't want to repeat everything I said in that video, but he is still performing at a very high level, so it's stupid to get rid of him now.
I mean, do they want points or no points? I mean, Lance Stroll is showing how the team can look like.
If he wants to stick around, he's settled in at the team. And don't forget as well, despite all the GP2 engine nonsense from many years ago, he does now have a good relationship with Honda. They've mended those bridges, if you like. I'm also quite pleased to see him staying on the grid for another couple of years, and also his experience is going to come in very handy for Aston Martin as they build into this new regulation phase, this new era. I think Aston have done the right thing. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here rabbiting and just doing this reaction for 20 minutes or whatever. I could do, you know, I'm like, I can't stop talking sometimes. Evidence right here. But I am looking forward to digging into this a little bit deeper next week as we build up to the Chinese Grand Prix. We get a few more quotes from Alonso and a bit more information as well on what's happening. The big question now, though, I'm going to throw this to you guys in the comments because I've already done it today, so I'm not going to do it again. What do you think this means for the 2025 driver market? What about that Mercedes seat? What's going to happen at Red Bull and Sauber and so on and so forth? Let me know. That is it then for this super quick breaking news reaction video thing. Again, I don't know what to call them, but there you go. But I will be back on Monday with a look back at some of the changes between China 2019 and China 2024. It's a fun little video, a bit daft, but I enjoyed making it. So that's out on Monday. In the meantime, though, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like because it really does help the channel out. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. And please do go and watch that Carlos Sainz video that went up earlier today.
Yeah,
As ever,
indeed.
thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.
Okay, there we have it. Alonso is actually going to stay in Aston Martin. I wouldn't say that was a big surprise. I mean, where should he else go? So... yeah, and this will continue tomorrow. But yeah, now all the watch stuff is done. Place the last stuff in the chest and then we can end it. So, let's see. Oh shit, do I have this? We can do... where do we have... and then we change this to this one, but we want to change that to that one. Okay, so Fernando Alonso, let's see, is this the right one? Yeah, it's looked like that. Oh, so I don't need to change. Okay, we already have Aston Martin, eller Aston Martin. Yeah, that is Aston Martin, but we have fucking Lando Fernando Alonso. So Ferrari is done. I mean, Stroll is somewhat questionable, but Ferrari Aston Martin is done. Then just Stake, F1 team, Kick Sauber left, Williams left, Haas left, Mercedes left, Visa Cash App RB Formula 1 team, and I mean, wonder how that will be interesting. Gasly, I mean, Williams is somewhat better than Renault, so, or Alpine. Maybe Gasly will wanna leave and go to Williams. I mean, McLaren should be done, right? Do they have to change anything? Let's see, did I... fuck did I do? Yeah, much better. But yeah, that was that. So nothing needed to change. I really already had Fernando Alonso at Aston Martin. So I mean, until anything more have been changed, then I would say